Adriano Martello, or better known to us as Maestro, is one of the most badass operators in Rainbow Six Siege, not only for his super cool design, but his lore stories are some of my most favorite out of any operators in Siege as well. There is so much with Maestro's lore that I never even knew about before researching for this video. I pretty much guarantee that there will be cool things about his lore that you had no idea about in today's operator lore video. So make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, as we start off, as we always do, with where and when Maestro was born. So Maestro's real name is of course Adriano Martello, and he was born to a pretty poor family in the city of Rome, Italy on April 13th. So at the time of the recording for today's video, April 13th was not too long ago, so make sure to give a happy belated birthday to Maestro in the comments below. One thing I do love about Maestro's lore is we get a ton of information on when he was younger in life, which I always like learning about for these operators. So he was born into a family that had 8 children in total from his parents. 8 children. He was the oldest of the 8 children and would very frequently be the protector of his younger brothers and sisters. We will start to see throughout the video that the main theme with Maestro is that he's a protector at heart. That's basically his underlying personality, is that he genuinely cares for the people he loves or likes. So we see that early on he would constantly be getting into fights when he was in school. Some people may have labeled him as a troubled child like Jeppy that was full of aggression and violence. But the fact is that he was keeping his brothers and sisters out of trouble by fighting their battles. Whether it was school bullies or maybe even confrontations his siblings started, Maestro would not allow his family to get hurt. This sense of protection he would offer and teaching lessons along the way would double down, as the codename Maestro that Ubisoft gave him actually translates to master or teacher in Italian. So like I said earlier, the Martello family was one that didn't really have a lot of money. They grew up in the lower income neighborhoods along Rome's Lungo Tavir. He was friendly with everyone that didn't cause his family problems and befriended a lot of the local Roman children. So one part of Maestro's lore I had absolutely no idea about before researching for the video is that he totally loved boxing when he was younger. With all the other Roman kids he grew up with, it was part of the tradition and culture to box each other to see, well, who'd win. Adriano was pretty good at it too, from what I found in his lore. Well, let's move on to a little later in his life when Adriano graduated from school and was tasked with finding out what he wanted to do for the rest of his life. Again, we see his protector and caring personality of him shine as he made a sacrifice to better his family. Now, I actually wouldn't really call it a sacrifice, to be honest, but Maestro decided to join the military once he turned 18 because, well, it was free. Since he had 7 siblings that his parents still needed to take care of and they were in the poverty area of Rome, he probably felt that it would have been selfish to have his parents spend money to send him to school rather than spending the money to take care of his siblings. It worked out in the end because, to be honest, he loved every single second of being in the armed forces of Italy. So when he did join the military, he attended the military academy of Modena. We see records from later on in Maestro's life that Harry found showing how Maestro would very frequently stop what he was doing during basic training to help out a fellow soldier in need. Even if he was way ahead of the others in his training, he would sacrifice his first place position to go back and help out his fellow soldiers in the training. But it kind of sucks because I found out in his lore that there were multiple soldiers that didn't like him doing that at all when he tried to help them. But it really goes on to show how Maestro's teaching and compassionate personality is his way of life. After he completed that, he joined the Carabinieri and earned a really cool spot as an explorer paratrooper in the 1st Paratrooper Regiment. That would actually be so cool to be a paratrooper, to be honest. Like, that'd actually be pretty cool. So it looks like that Maestro went on many tours while being a paratrooper and apparently did some very heroic acts while on tour as well. He earned a prestigious bronze medal and even a silver medal of military valor. Now, these are not handed out very often, so you really do have to do something heroic to earn these medals. And it's no surprise really that Maestro got a couple of these medals, because we saw how protective he was earlier in his life, so it looks like that translated really well over to when he was in the armed forces as well, taking care of his fellow soldiers. After that, he qualified for the Grupo di Intervento Special, I probably butchered that, or the GIS for short. Yeah, I like that abbreviation much better. Maestro went on to participate in joint operations in the country of Iraq, and that's the part of his life where he received that huge scar that we see today. He got that after a roadside bomb, or IED, detonated while his vehicle was driving past and sent shrapnel across his face, leaving that massive scar. He went back home to Italy, where he also took place in bringing peace to multiple homegrown threats there at his home country in Italy. This is a super cool part in Maestro's lore that I love and really can't wait to tell you guys. So Maestro was part in a pretty big operation while part of the GIS that ties directly to another operator's lore in Siege. And that operator is Alibi. I talked a lot about this in my Alibi lore video I made a little while ago. If you want to learn more about this whole thing and really Alibi in general, then the link for that will be in the description below. I highly recommend that video. But we're here to talk about Maestro's side of the story for this operation that was actually codenamed Operation Spider Wasp. Basically, to sum up Alibi's role for this is that she was actually one of the best undercover agents Italy had to offer, and maybe even some of the best in the whole world, maybe next to Caviera and Nook. She was tasked with going undercover to infiltrate and eliminate extremely violent and oppressive organized crime in the motherland of Italy. And now I won't talk too much about what she did and how she did all this, so I don't want to spoil her lore for you guys in case you did want to check out that Alibi lore video, but she needed help fast for this operation, and that's when Maestro comes in. He was sent to help capture these crime lords and everyone involved as he led his division, and along with the intel Alibi provided while she was undercover, kicked down the door and effectively ended this crime family. I have more about this topic and the interactions between Alibi and Maestro I'll touch up on a little later in the video. Hang on for that, guys. He did a couple more operations in Italy before finally becoming an instructor for the Italian military, training tier 3 units. Maestro would go on to be the one to train tier 3 and tier 2 units in the private sector. So he left the military and joined the private sector. These units would be full of operators specifically trained to Maestro's standards of combat. His time in the private sector though didn't last very long, as his old military regiment finally convinced him to re-enlist again, but this time as a teacher, not a soldier. I'm assuming he didn't have to go through basic training again, because that would suck. But this time being in the regiment, Maestro would get tasked to become a member of a multinational anti-terror organization called Team Rainbow that reached out to acquire his expertise. And well, as we all see, he accepted. Now, of course, like every operator that joins, a psychological evaluation needs to be done, completed by Harry, the 6th of Team Rainbow. Now, Harry has a lot to say for this evaluation, some good and, well, some bad. So let's get right into it. He starts off the evaluation by talking about how Maestro is a natural born leader, talking about how he would help his soldiers during basic training and how he would fight his siblings' fights all the way back to when he was a kid. He also goes over how Maestro joined the military to ease the financial burden of sending a kid to college from his parents, and how he cares about all men and women he serves with. Harry writes in his report how Maestro brings out the best in each person and how he's a very easy person to get along with. He's funny and, well, pretty vulgar as well, that swears much more than other more reserved operators on Team Rainbow. Now, he also tells great stories that intertwines with teaching moments for less experienced operators, and does so all with his charm that comes so easy to him to express. The thing is though with Maestro that Harry recognizes is that he may not be the most reliable person for long-term investment on Team Rainbow, and here's why. Maestro is a person that loves to travel and constantly be doing other things. Once he's conquered an objective or completed something challenging, he gets pretty bored and leaves to do other things. And Harry fears that's what's going to happen with Team Rainbow. Even with Seamus Cowden, or better known to us as Sledge, being one of Maestro's best friends on Team Rainbow, he still might leave. Now, do you remember earlier in the video how I said Maestro went on to joint operations in Iraq? Well, on one of those joint operations is when he met Sledge. This was an operation before Article 5 was instituted, but they became really good friends during that operation right off the bat. Once they were both cycled off duty for that operation, Maestro invited Seamus over to his family's house, which is probably a really welcoming thing, but even with one of his best friends on Team Rainbow, Harry fears he still might leave if he gets bored or feels like he accomplished really all that needs to be done for Team Rainbow. Now, remember how Maestro used to love boxing and would frequently compete with the other Roman kids when he was younger? Well, Harry saw this and asked if specialist James Porter, or better known to us as Smoke, would step in the ring with Maestro and duke it out glove to glove. If you guys didn't know, Smoke was actually a really good boxer when he was in the British Army. Harry thought to himself that if he sent in Maestro to box Smoke, that he would have fond memories rush back to him when he was a kid, and might get excited to show up to work each day if he had the opportunity to go a couple rounds with Smoke every once in a while. Or maybe he thought Smoke would beat him frequently enough to which would make Maestro stay longer each day to train in taking down Smoke in the ring. Harry is also trying to see if he can get Mike Baker or Thatcher to help try and convince Maestro to stay longer in Team Rainbow and kind of like take him under his wing. Maestro has said that he has nothing short of pure, honest respect for Mike. So much so that when Thatcher is around Maestro, he gets pretty nervous and sometimes messes up his words when trying to talk when the SAS veteran is around. I thought that was actually kind of funny, to be honest. And now we have Alibi. They have a long history together and Harry just doesn't know what to think about the two of them. He can't figure out if they are good for each other or not. In Alibi's lore, this topic goes much more in depth, but here in Maestro's, all Harry really has to say is whatever history they share remains unknown to me for now. I don't really know what to make of this, but I think there's more about Alibi and Maestro that they're not telling us based off the now 2 lore videos I've made about them. Well, nonetheless, Harry is worried that Maestro will eventually leave Team Rainbow regardless when something else better comes along. It's unfortunate because even with all these reasons to stay and how much of a help he can really be to the team, it's out of his control. The ball is in Maestro's court. Well, let's now talk about the device evaluation as we begin to wrap up today's video. So the gadget that Maestro brings was developed by the genius minds of Twitch and Mira. They call it the CLEV, or the Cleave for short. But Maestro just decided to call it the Evil Eye instead. Even though Twitch has said multiple times to call it the Cleave, Maestro will still refer to his gadget as the Evil Eye, and Twitch believes he does it just to piss her off. Sounds like a Maestro thing he would do. Well, anyways, the evaluation talks about how once the device is stabilized on a wall or a surface, Maestro will be able to remotely control it on a swivel mounted camera. Not only is it just a bulletproof camera, but once the shield opens up that Mira developed, Maestro will be able to shoot highly energetic lasers from the device to cause damage or destroy enemy gadgets. Twitch talks about how she developed the lasers with all gas phase iodine lasers, or AGIL, and charges them with state-of-the-art micro batteries to reduce the weight Maestro will have to carry around during operations. She still hates, though, how he calls it the Evil Eye and not the proper name that she developed. Well, everyone, this was a longer video. I apologize, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're new here, I make a ton of operator lore videos just like this one, so go ahead and check out my playlist and see if I already made a video about your favorite operator or your main. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe with notifications if you're new. Now, with all that being said, Jeppy out!